Good evening. Welcome to the 2016 UMBC Alumni Award Ceremony. As the representative body for more than 70,000 graduates, the UMBC Alumni Association and its Board of Directors is proud to host this annual signature event. The awards bestowed tonight are presented by the UMBC Alumni Association in coordination with the Office of Institutional Advancement and with support from the UMBC community. The nomination and selection process is a year-round endeavor led by the Alumni Association Board of Directors Alumni Awards Committee. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge Irina Vishnevetsky, our Alumni Awards Committee Chair, who will offer introductions for each of our award winners and their nominees. This is Irina's third year as chair of the committee, and under her leadership, the Alumni Awards has continued to grow. Please join me in thanking Irina for all of her hard work, leading the committee, in naming this year's impressive slate of awardees. For those of you that were able to join us on September 17th in celebration of UMBC's 50th anniversary, this may be your second time back on campus in just 3 weeks. The anniversary weekend allowed UMBC to showcase the very grit and greatness that has led the university to where we are today. And we expect that you'll find tonight's honorees no different. The alumni and faculty we will be recognizing tonight truly capture the depth of the UMBC community, and I'm humbled to share the stage tonight with our remarkable honorees. Besides tonight's awards recipients, I'd also like to acknowledge our generous event sponsors. Sponsorship of this event benefits our Alumni Association Scholarship Fund, which provides direct financial support to current UMBC students. We're happy to recognize, at the Retriever Believer level, tonight's flagship sponsor, alumni-owned Applied Technology Solutions, and at the True Grit level, the UMBC Training Centers, marking this their 5th year of sponsorship for this event. At the Black and Gold level is Dices Solutions, and our Retriever sponsors include Infotech, Web Mechanics, Data Canopy, Dell, as well as the Pittman family and Irina Vishnevetsky. Let's give everyone a round of applause for their support of the Alumni Association Scholarship. This year, the UMBC Alumni Association provides scholarships to 10 deserving students. We shared their stories with you as part of our reception, and would like to take a moment to acknowledge their presence here tonight. Also with us this evening are members of our Student Alumni Association, who work closely with alumni relations staff to foster meaningful alumni-student relationships. Each of these students embodies the very grit and greatness that will carry UMBC through the next 50 years. And we hope to see them on this very stage, maybe, at the Alumni Awards in the future. At this time, I ask both our scholarship recipients and the Student Alumni Association members please stand. Let's give them all a well-deserved round of applause. It is now my pleasure to ask President Freeman Hrabowski to offer a welcome on behalf of UMBC.
Hello. Delighted to see my students here tonight. We have to finish so they can go back and study, I'm sure. Welcome to all of you. It is a very special evening. Before we begin, I have to take a moment and ask you to take a moment with me to have silence for 2 members of our community. One of our students, a senior who would have been graduating this year in health policy, who was killed a few days ago. And then I was so sorry to hear last night that Jill Wrigley in interdisciplinary studies, who teaches here and is a program advisor, died at a young age. She was the wife of Michael Sarbanes, and they lived in Baltimore City. So let us have a moment of silence for 2 members of the UMBC community. Thank you very much. This is a special occasion, a very, very special occasion, because we are celebrating some of our best These are alumni students, these are graduates who have achieved at the highest of levels in a number of disciplines across this country and beyond. No one gets anywhere by him or herself. We are also fortunate to have family and friends. They're having a hard time turning that phone off, I can tell. This technology, I understand. And the key is, the older we get, the more we realize that our families and our relationships are the most important part of our lives. And so I'm going to ask the family members or friends who are here to celebrate our awardees to please stand. If you're a family or a friend of someone or a faculty member, please stand. Staff and faculty. Yep. Faculty, yes. Yes. I know that my graduates, our alumni, know that when we celebrate ourselves, we celebrate with people who've gotten us to this place. And we have people here from Beijing to Florida, New Mexico, all over the world. It's just amazing to see the difference that we are making. And what we can say is this: one measures the impact of a university by the research it produces, the questions it asks, the people who are graduates and what they do, and they pay it forward. And so this is a 50-year experiment. We have said that for this year, that the first students entered the university in 1966. And amazingly, every one of the graduates in one way or the other has said, the place has changed since I was a student here. And what is wonderful is they will think about the facilities. We look at this facility. What's really nice is that I could step there and you would still hear me all the way back. It's the wonders of architecture. It is just wonderful. For my colleagues in the arts and humanities, we know that we've worked really hard to get to this point, all right, and to renovate other buildings, quite frankly. And what I would say is this: when we complete the next interdisciplinary life sciences facility, which we will break ground on in a few months, we would have had, since about 2000, $750 million in construction. And that's a big deal. Give us a round of applause for that. But here is the part that is almost counterintuitive. As wonderful as this facility is, as the others on campus are, the lovely pond and the new entrance and just so many things going up right now, far more important to us are the people. Some who've retired, others who are still here, our graduates, and the work that people are doing. There is the point. The real question is, what difference are we making? And our decisions about these graduates tonight have everything to do with their values, their character, their achievements, and the people whose lives they're touching, from the arts and humanities to the science and engineering areas. And so as you listen to their stories, I want you to think about one question. Each of my students, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what will people say about me? And tonight is about just that, the significance of life itself. We get all these awards and all these people, U.S. News and all the other rankings, but far more important than that should be the values that our graduates have. The people you see on this stage are not just amazingly talented. They are good people who've done great work. And I can't think of anything an educator would want more than that. People who care about others, who strive for excellence, and who never, never, never give up. Welcome to UMBC. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hrabowski. My name is Irina Vishnevetsky, and I am a member of the Alumni Association Board of Directors and chair of the Alumni Awards Committee. Our committee is tasked with the challenging yet incredibly rewarding job of selecting the slate of honorees to be recognized at our annual awards ceremony. Each year, the number of nominations submitted grows, and each year, I'm amazed by the incredible accomplishments of UMBC alumni. Before we get started today, I'd like to recognize the committee members who joined me in this year's selection process. Bennett Moe, former member and past president of the Alumni Board. John Becker, current board president. Chris McGachy, vice president of operations for the board and alumni board members. Kina Limbassier and Arsham Mirshaw. Now we begin recognizing our awardees. Please note that all physical awards will be distributed to award winners at the conclusion of the ceremony. Tonight's first award will recognize Dr. Vince Calhoun as Outstanding Alumnus of the Year in Engineering and Information Technology. Dr. Calhoun graduated in 2002 with his PhD in electrical engineering. He was nominated by Dr. Tule Adali. She will introduce Dr. Calhoun.
Thank you. So for introductions, as with anything else, I feel there is a sweet spot. So obviously, it's very difficult to introduce someone you do not know so well, but it's also equally difficult, I felt and found out, to also introduce, to start with a nominating statement, someone you know so well. So I have had the pleasure of knowing and working closely with Vince for almost 20 years now, 17 plus. So he has defined a major field in brain research, keeps pushing the field. He's a leader in the field and has numerous recognition, crazy number of citations to his work. But when it was time for me to put together my nomination statement letter, I could not decide how to start. So an email actually that came my way was very helpful. So this was a note from his current provost at the University of New Mexico, Professor Abdallah. He had written to President Hrabowski following his visit to the university. So he said, "First, let me tell you about Professor Vince Calhoun, one of UMBC's graduates whom I hired while a chair of electrical and computer engineering. As I described to you during your visit, Vince has been one of the best hires at UNM. I often brag about my ability to spot talent by using him as an example. He is the complete package, a great teacher and mentor, an outstanding researcher, and a truly genuine human being. He has not shied away from service to UNM and the profession, even when he does not have or need to. He was promoted early to full professor and then became one of the youngest distinguished professors. UMBC should be very proud of him and his accomplishments, as are we." So Vince, he's an extraordinary researcher, but also he's wonderful in so many ways. One of the hardest tasks, establishing balancing between work and family, and with great success on both sides. So he manages countless collaborations, projects, and will almost immediately respond to any email, any query at any given time. It was even the case, which is now more than 5 years ago, when he was at the hospital frequently going through chemo. So on the other side, with the family, he manages to have those exciting adventures with his kids. He has 3 and takes very short trips all around the globe to make sure that he'll be home most of the time. And he's also someone who truly enjoys research, the process, the interactions, and so makes a difference not only in science, but in the life of those around him in many ways. His energy, positive outlook that have been as inspiring and also contagious. So it has been a wonderful journey working with them closely over the years, and of course, looking forward to continuing that journey.
Well, thank you. It's a great honor to be here to receive this award. As I was just thinking back, I was thinking back when I first joined UMBC, and what I did when I was at that process is I was really applying to a number of schools, looking at biomedical engineering and electrical engineering. I was already starting to do some brain imaging research. And I picked UMBC over a number of different schools that had accepted me, including places like Case Western University and BU and WashU, et cetera. And one of the main reasons I did that was because of the interview process. And during that process, I met the faculty, and just the multiple people that I met were just very genuine and very excited and just willing to answer my questions honestly, in either direction. One of the people I met there was Tulay, who has been my teacher and my advisor, my colleague and my friend over many years. I can't say enough positive things about Tulay. I've also gotten to know a number of the other faculty, including Joel Morris and Janet Rutledge, and more recently Seung-Jung Kim, as well as a number of the students, as we've talked about on the different committees. And it's been just a great experience, and I've never looked back. In the last couple minutes here, I just wanted to sort of highlight three different things that I feel are important, just using some quotes. And so the first quote is from Robert Frost, who basically said, "The brain is a wonderful organ. It starts working the minute you wake up, and it doesn't stop until you get to work in the morning." And it just reminds us of the importance of humor in daily life. It is important. I think we should hold strongly onto the questions that we're interested in asking, but we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously, and we should treat people as if we're going to be working with them for the rest of our lives, which is more the case than many of us would imagine, I think. And the next quote that I wanted to mention is, you've heard the quote from Albert Einstein that imagination is more important than knowledge. And I believe that's true. I work in an interdisciplinary field, and it's just, in order to move the field forward, you have to bring knowledge together from different areas, and you really have to think differently than other people have thought before about solving problems and about moving things ahead, especially with an organ as complex as the brain. And finally, Einstein also said, intellect, some people say intellect makes a great scientist, but they're wrong. It's really character. And I think character is important, and really it helps us through the difficult times, to get through those times. And character is also, these days it's honesty and integrity in your work is especially important. And it's really going to make your work endure over the long term. And so with that, I'll just conclude, and thank you again for this great honor. So.
Our next award recognizes Dr. Ian Ralby, who graduated in 2002 with both an undergraduate degree in modern language and linguistics and an MA in intercultural communication. Dr. Ralby is this year's Outstanding Alumnus of the Year in Humanities. He is unable to join us tonight, but alumna and retired staff member Nancy Miller will offer his introduction, and Dr. Thomas Field from the Department of Modern Language, Linguistics, and Intercultural Communication will read an acceptance on his behalf.
Good evening. I'm pleased to be here to present this award to Dr. Ian Ralby, a UMBC graduate in the humanities. Ian was nominated for this award by his class of '02 colleague, Laura Ashbaugh, who was unable to be here tonight. So I'm not technically the nominator, but I do want to say that I know Ian, I know about his accomplishments, and I'm very much endorsing his selection for this award. I got to know him when I was the prestigious scholarships advisor at UMBC. He was graduated at that point, but he made a point of getting to know me, and I was very pleased that he did that. Ian's achievements at UMBC were exceptional. He was selected as valedictorian for the 2002 graduation ceremony, where he received the BA and MA degrees just described. He was a varsity diver for UMBC, an NCAA athlete, and a humanities scholar. He was not just an outstanding student, but one whose interests were intensely interdisciplinary. He forged strong bonds with UMBC faculty in many departments, including with Dr. Field, from whom you're hearing soon. After graduation, he pursued a law degree at the College of William and Mary and worked as an attorney in private practice. Later, he attended the University of Cambridge, St. John's College, winning the prestigious Gates Cambridge Scholarship twice over. I can't overstate how impressive that is. He earned an MPhil degree in international relations, and a PhD in politics and international studies. In 2011, he founded the IR Consilium, an international consultancy that provides expert advice to sovereign governments on matters of international law and policy. Ian is a recognized expert on maritime security issues and on the regulation of private security companies. He speaks and publishes widely on these topics, including right now, which is why he's not here. This is only a summary of Ian Rowby's extensive activities and achievements. He is truly an impressive individual who's been making a difference in the world, quite literally, since his graduation from UMBC. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, it's more than a little embarrassing to be sitting in the front row here when I'm not getting an award. But it's a pleasure for me to be reading Ian's statement on his behalf, because he's someone that meant a lot to all of us who taught him, I think. So I will simply read it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely remiss that I cannot be with you tonight and cannot convey my profound gratitude for this award in person. At the moment, I am in Turku, Finland, for a NATO conference of maritime experts addressing key global security problems, including the resurgency of piracy in Africa and the Straits of Malacca, the human rights challenges posed by maritime migration in the Mediterranean, and the bubbling conflict in the South China Sea. Were the cause for my absence not of direct consequence to international affairs, I would most certainly have skipped it in favor of your company. But given the pressing importance of these matters to all of us, I hope you will forgive me for not being there. UMBC, as Dr. Hrabowski so frequently says, is a special place. Since leaving here 14 years ago, I have pursued further graduate work at William & Mary, America's first law school, and the University of Cambridge, ranked #1 in the world while I was there. Without a doubt, the education I received here was world-class. It prepared me to not only do well in those other degrees, but to excel in two ways, objectively and intangibly. Objectively, I have worked hard and done well, at least at times, in the professional world. I have worked on the Saddam Hussein trial, helping advise the Iraqi judges. I was on the inner circle of the drafting teams for the key instruments related to global private security accountability. I am still intimately involved in the development of maritime security architecture in Africa and elsewhere, helping counter piracy, trafficking, illegal fishing, and maritime environmental crimes. And I'm currently leading the largest study ever conducted on refined oil theft and other illicit downstream hydrocarbons activity. Under most metrics of success, therefore, I have been fortunate thus far in my career to have achieved a good deal. But while I am proud of what I have done so far, and hope to do much more in the future, there is something that UMBC, and particularly studying the humanities at UMBC, gave me that has been more satisfying on the one hand and more helpful on the other. It is not, however, something that will ever appear on my CV. It is intangible, albeit perceivable. When I was a student here, I read a tremendous amount. I wrote a tremendous amount. And through discussions in class and with professors, I learned a tremendous amount. What I learned, however, was far more than how to make sense of the words in a book or how to write a persuasive argument. While those skills have certainly been helpful, and indeed fundamental to my career, I also learned about human nuance. I learned to pick up on the subtleties of human interaction in my own culture and across cultures. When I work in Africa, or Europe, or Asia, my ability to perform in-depth textual analysis is rarely the skill that makes or breaks the success of my meetings or negotiations. But my ability to recognize allusions, pick up on unfamiliar social cues, identify and navigate cultural faux pas, recalibrate my own cadence of interaction to that of my interlocutor, and in general connect with the people I encounter, has frequently been the deciding factor in whether my work was merely technically proficient or truly successful. In other words, my education in the humanities at UMBC helped me to understand myself and the world around me in a way that has allowed me to be more fully human and to connect with others from all over the globe on the profound level of our shared humanity. I'm incredibly grateful for the education I received here, and I am so pleased to be part of the UMBC family at large, as well as the many sub-families of which I was a member. The swimming and diving team, the humanities scholars, the Honors College, the MLLI department, among others. I thank the many influential professors and mentors I had while I was here who helped shape both my intellect and my character, including Professors Tom Field, Bridget May, Bob Sloan, Stan McRae, Jack Sinnigan, Ed Larkey, Angela Morjani, John Stoll McAllister, Gala Stern, and the late Carol Barner-Berry. I thank coaches Chad Craddock and Sid Burkott from the swimming team, as well as my longtime diving coach, Vic Corbin, for helping instill in me the discipline and perseverance that have served me so well throughout my life. I thank the countless staff and administrators at UMBC, who are often behind the scenes, make this such a vibrant and thriving university. I thank my family, particularly my mother, Rohini Ralby, my stepfather, David Sode, and my brother, Aaron Ralby. I should also say that Aaron, a fellow UMBC, MLLI, humanities scholar, and Honors College alum, as well as a former valedictorian, is probably far more deserving of this award than I, for his incredible breakthroughs in dyslexia, autism, and language learning, particularly in conflict zones. I also thank my longtime mentor, President Freeman Hrabowski, who provided me with some of the nuggets of wisdom that continue to guide my path. I thank my dear friend and fellow alum, Laura Ashbaugh, for having nominated me for the honor bestowed on me tonight, and I am so glad to see her taking on the monumental task of working to make healthcare in America provide for all Americans. And finally, I add a special, this is where it gets really embarrassing, I add a special thanks to Professor Tom Field, who has provided me not just with a voice tonight, but with the skills to more adeptly express myself over a decade and a half. I close by recalling a piece of advice that Dr. Hrabowski shared with me when I was a 16-year-old freshman, coming to see him in his office for the first time. He said, "It is the responsibility of your host to make you feel comfortable when you come to visit them. If they are good people, they will make you feel comfortable, at ease, and welcome. If they make you feel nervous, on edge, or unwelcome, they are not good people." So I thank UMBC for educating me on so many levels, for recognizing me tonight for what I have done thus far, for encouraging me to do even more, and for, as Dr. Hrabowski puts it, being good people. Thank you all, and good night from Finland.
Our next award will be presented to Dr. Henry Baker, who completed his undergraduate degree in 1978 before returning to campus to complete his PhD in 1984. Both degrees are in biological sciences. Dr. Baker is this year's outstanding alumnus in natural and mathematical sciences and was nominated by Dr. Philip Faraba. Dr. Faraba will introduce Dr. Baker.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce the outstanding alumnus of the year for CNMS, Dr. Henry Baker. Henry grew up in Catonsville on the edge of Patapsco State Park, and he reminds me that he actually became a biologist by living in that environment. He graduated from UMBC, which he thought of in those days as the college the new college down the street, with a BS and then a PhD. He's had a remarkable career. He was a postdoctoral researcher at Harvard Medical School and took up a faculty position at the University of Florida. At Florida, he has risen to be the Hazel Kitzman Professor of Genetics, a Professor of Surgery, and the chair of the Department of Molecular Genetics and Microbiology, as well as the associate director of the University of Florida Genetics Institute. So much of Henry's recent career success has derived from a realization he made that the clue to understanding human disease to a great extent lay in determining how people's genes change during disease, which genes become hyperactivated, which genes become silenced. Henry actually made a courageous decision after being at Florida to leave behind the kind of work that he had started doing here at UMBC and in his postdoctoral career, and decided to use biostatistics and bioinformatics, which were, I think, two new fields for him, to uncover these changes in response to disease. His association with medical colleagues explains his professorship in surgery. He actually doesn't take out people's gallbladders on the side. So Henry has remained connected with his PhD mentor, Dr. Richard E. Wolf, Jr., who's sitting here, and who recently retired. And Henry actually was here just a year ago for that event that we threw a party for Rick. And he has closely followed developments at UMBC, partly because he's a local boy and he hears about UMBC, I'm sure, from his family. Henry is an exemplar of how UMBC has enabled students to achieve their very best while here and to go out and make a difference in the world in their careers. We in the Department of Biological Sciences are proud that he is one of ours. Henry.
Well, thank you very much. I must say that I want to thank the Alumni Association. I'm really honored to be included amongst the recipients here today and the past recipients. I went online and read about all the past recipients, and Sheldon Brodell is here, and Mary Lake, and people who I knew from my graduate days, and so I'm just really humbled to be in that group. I also want to thank my family, some of whom have traveled from distant states to be here. My brother from Delaware and his wife, my sister, Patricia, who traveled to Texas, along with my sister-in-law, Linda, my aunt and uncle. So they've come, and my wife, who came with me from Florida. She gets a spot later. So I really need to thank my family for support, and I need to give a shout out to both my brother and my sister. Now, I came to UMBC in the fall of 1974, and the day before class began, it was probably Labor Day because I think the semester started the day after Labor Day. I was talking to my brother on the telephone, and I told him I had plans of graduating in 4 years. And he said, "There's no way in hell you're going to graduate there in 4 years. It's going to take you much longer than that." So I put that down as, I absolutely have got to graduate in 4 years because I got to make the guy, show him up. And the curriculum was challenging. And so my brother was an engineer. He had gone to College Park. And I was pretty good in statistics, but not so good in mathematics, the real math. And so my brother tutored me on Thursday nights, and then also helped in my recreation by giving me tickets to that other university a little bit south from here to see football and basketball games. So helped in my recreation. And I must say my sister, who was a few years older than me, gainfully employed, she also, on a regular basis, gave me some spending money. So I really need to thank Patricia for that. So also, since I wanted to be on the 4-year plan, I thought maybe to make sure I can do this and not really have my semesters crowded, I would make use of summer school. So I took organic chemistry lab in summer school. And that was probably the best thing that I did because I met my wife in that lab. And she's been a true partner for however many years that we've been together. So we've been married coming up on 37 years, so a few years longer than that. So the great thing about UMBC, though, is really the thought that, in my view, the thought that went into the curriculum, and really in the biological sciences, the integration of the courses with the labs, and really at the undergraduate level, the cutting-edge research that was going on at UMBC. As a senior, I did research with Dr. Frank Hansen. He was in the biology department, and he was really what we would call today a neuroscientist, but they didn't have that term back then, and he was a electrophysiologist, and he studied feeding behavior and flies, and he had a computer, and this was back in the mid-70s. He had a computer, so he had an 8-bit computer that was 6 feet tall, and it had all kinds of banana leads. It was really state-of-the-art stuff. And when I decided to go to graduate school, I thought I wanted to stay in that area, but I didn't want to take all physiology courses, so I took a genetics course in the first semester in graduate school. And through that, I really fell in love with genetics. And I had the good fortune to go into the laboratory of Rick Wolf for my PhD mentor. And then over the years, I really appreciate the great mentoring that I got from Professor Wolf, because every day he would come into the lab in the afternoon, usually around 3 or 4 o'clock, and I would be kind of tired because I was low glucosing, and he would want to talk about the latest paper, and he would challenge me, and then my task after he was left was to go over to the library and read the journals and then try to come up to speed. And then the next day, we'd play the game again, always challenging me. And Rick truly is one of the most intense people that I've ever met. And just an example, just yesterday, he sent me an email of a paper to read that I might be interested. But I haven't got a chance to read that paper yet. So, and I'm an academic, and one thing that I've learned in my time in academics is that the faculty thinks that they're great, and the faculty are great. But the way that you really judge a faculty and how great they are is really by the success of their students and how their students go on out into the world. And I think in this area, UMBC and the faculty at UMBC has truly excelled from its beginning in 1966 up to today, and where it continues on, I think, ever higher trajectory. So I think UMBC has truly great professors. It's a truly great institution. And from UMBC, and I'm saying this to the students, from UMBC, you can get anywhere. So congratulations to the students, and thank you for picking UMBC, and thank you very much.
Our next award will be presented to Ms. Ruby Liu, our Outstanding Alumna of the Year in Social and Behavioral Sciences. A 1994 economics undergraduate, Ms. Liu was nominated by Dr. David Mitch, who will now offer her introduction.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm delighted to introduce Ruby Liu as UMBC Alumna of the Year in 2016 for the Social Sciences. So Ruby is not a local girl. She comes from Fujian province in China, but local family and network support was very important in her experience at UMBC. The family of Virginia Pausch and the late Fred Pausch sponsored her and hosted Ruby in their home during her studies at UMBC. I sort of saw firsthand experience of this. In the early 1990s, she took some of my classes, and I knew she had recently arrived from China, and I was impressed by her fluency in both spoken and written English. And when I asked her how she managed to accomplish this, what she said is she'd spent an extended period of time in the Pausch family home, basically as a couch potato in front of the TV set. And she resorted to that method of English language acquisition when she found that her English wasn't good enough to get employment doing telemarketing, which is what she really wanted to do because she thought it was very important for her character to have a lot of people say no to her. But anyway, the TV method did work, and it really does show her persistence. I also want to mention that it's thanks to Ruby's suggestion that I started teaching a course in Asian economic history at UMBC. Before that, I'd just done Europe and America. So as was mentioned, Ruby completed her BA in economics in 1994, and then she went on to complete a master's degree in international economics at the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. After graduation, Ruby became a vice president in the Technology Investment Banking Group of Goldman Sachs. Then this may seem like a stuffy activity, but she shared plenty of experiences how in the late 1990s and early 2000s there were lots of exciting issues being involved in technology investment in China. But she wasn't happy just to sort of stay with Goldman Sachs. In 2005, she co-founded DCM China, a capital venture firm based in Beijing, and helped the firm grow its assets to over $2.5 billion. She has been named by Forbes magazine's China Midas list as one of the top 50 venture capitalists for each year between 2011 and 2015. Ruby's approach to venture capital is to invest in companies she thinks will use technology to bring about positive change for society. The companies she's invested in range from those in e-commerce to software devices to healthcare. Ruby has served on the boards of directors of 3 New York Stock Exchange-listed companies and 2 NASDAQ-listed companies. And she is currently working to establish a cross-border technology fund to focus on artificial intelligence and the application of data science to healthcare. And I'm especially excited that tonight, not only Ruby, but her husband Brian has come all the way from Beijing to join us.
It's amazing.
Of course, like, the one with a foreign language did not prepare a note. So I thought, but I'm very humbled by the community because I actually personally benefited tremendously from UMBC. 1990, I think I was fresh off the boat, and UMBC was my first sort of landing spot. And I'm glad I came to UMBC because it was small enough school where you get a lot of attention from professors. I didn't have any friends from my peers because students at that young age, they didn't want to make the effort to sort of hear what your heavy accented English has to offer. And so what I did is I kind of know every single professor's office hour. So they became my friends and they became my mentors. So from Dr. Mitch, I took 2 courses. And I remember, not only I actually use up all his office hours, I get really annoyed when other students show up for professors' office hours. He and his wife actually tried to expand my horizon by taking me to actually theaters and shows that I actually benefit tremendously from. I think I took Dr. Carroll's Industrial Organization Economics. And I still remember she had that khaki pants and very t-shirt and dress shirt and khaki pants. And I thought, when I grow up, I want to be a woman like her, which was great to be having a professor like that as your role model. Dr. Gindling was my mentor. My first econometrics model, I think I built with him. And he was so patient with me because I didn't know what I was doing, but we adjust the model. Each time he has to go through the model with me, and under his mentorship, I was able to publish an article in UMBC Journal, which was great. Which actually I think Johns Hopkins didn't quite know what UMBC Journal is, but it seemed serious publication, so it added points in sort of my science admission. Then I went to St. Thencia I was the first class of McNair program, which was aimed at helping, I think it was tremendous, the fact that Thencia actually let me into the program, thinking out the box, and letting the Chinese actually sneak into the McNair program, which was fantastic because throughout the summer, I was able to have a mentor, like Dr. Gindling, mentor me to write a dissertation. And then also I had a student, I think was a student coach, to teach me how to use the computer program, the SAS program, to run the model. I also had, it gave me tremendous exposure to scholarly African Americans, which was wonderful because, I learned so much expanding my horizon. I still remember one of the McNair fellow, Jonathan, took us to his inner city Baltimore home. And that made an impression on me because I thought ultimately society is only as good as community want to band together and build it. So anyway, because of UMBC, I learned the value that if you excel at something, and you really excel at something, which in this case was academic, I'm so grateful. UMBC always has this very strong emphasis on academic excellence. And I think through my professors and sort of through the recognition of the school, I learned that if you excel at something, then you can actually, even your language is not so good, even you couldn't quite express yourself fully, people would accept you and they will embrace you into the community. So UMBC was, and has been a great school. I also want to add the note that this is a little bit of suck up to the president, but I didn't know the value about, back then I was an economics major, but the fact that this was back in 1990, 1991, 92, I think you became president in 92, right? And President, when he became president, you actually emphasized on science. And you actually did huge investment in science and technology, which of course is the bread and butter of what I do. And so I just realized, the Silicon Valley's success is actually comes from people who have the foresight and the guts to invest when you still couldn't quite see the future yet. But this is what sort of pushed the frontier, and that's why UMBC can have so many buildings and so much funding, right? So I want to thank the community, thank my professors, and of course I have the best husband in the world who flies in to be here with me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our award for Outstanding Alumnus of the Year in Social Work is presented to Mr. Joseph Jones, Jr., who graduated in 2006 with a degree in social work. He was nominated by Choice Program Director Lamar Davis, who will offer his introductions.
Good evening and welcome. In our field and in civic leadership, there are a few legends, and I have the honor of introducing one tonight. Now, if you don't know who Joe Jones is, you're likely from out of town. Joe lives his values and demonstrates his convictions every day through the founding of and leadership of his and convictions every day through the founding and leadership of the Center for Urban Families. His center has served over 26,000 Baltimore citizens, working with over 1,500 men and women each year, helping secure over 6,400 full-time jobs upon completion of his workforce development initiative. Now, in talking to Joe earlier tonight, we were talking about the numbers and the metrics, and he said, well, the metrics are important, but that's not really what's important about the work we do. It's about instilling hope. And so I said, great, I'm going to throw away my speech. But Joe's not just a distinguished leader here in Baltimore. He's been getting national recognition for years. He transcends politics, having served Vice President Al Gore, First Lady Laura Bush, and our current President Barack Obama. He serves on multiple local and national boards and task force. Among his list of awards, Joe, and there's a long list of awards, I could only name a few here, but he's received the White House Champion of Change Award and was a 2013 CNN hero. Few individuals in Maryland are as committed to supporting their communities in a more substantive way than Joe Jones. Joe has been a trailblazer in the field, emphasizing the critical role that fathers play in building a thriving community. His steadfast belief and unrelenting drive have literally transformed tens of thousands of lives with impacts that will be felt for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Jones.
Wow, good evening. Lamar, thank you for the nomination. John and members of the Alumni Association, thank you for this humbling award. Much has changed on this campus over the years, but not its leadership. And I want to mention a little bit about its leadership. Some guy sitting behind me, right? Because I had no intention of going to college, right? As an adult that had a family, I'm blessed to be here with my wife, Deborah. Can you put your hands, wave your hands like you just don't care? Yeah. And I was invited to give this talk over dinner to a group of some of our region's most prestigious civic and business leaders. And I did not know Dr. Hrabowski, but he came into the room. You ever walk into a room with Dr. Hrabowski? Something happens when he walks in. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's that jury factor, right? And I gave my talk, which included, my limited academic experience. And he said, "How come you haven't gone back to school?" And anybody ever had that conversation with Dr. Hrabowski about your future, your goals? And he said, "I need you to come to my office," right? So I went to visit him in his office. I do not actually remember enrolling in UMBC, right? It happened, right? And today it's an incredibly challenging time in our society, particularly with some of our politics and how divisive and disparaging some of the rhetoric is. But when you think about the UMBC campus, and I think about the beauty of its diversity and is represented in this room tonight, I think about how America could take a real cue from how it builds community, similar to how UMBC has been built out. I will tell you that this whole notion of building community, I'm really blessed. I've been able to sit on corners in Sandtown, Winchester, corporate boardrooms, the Oval Office, but nothing means more to me than to find somebody who has a sense of what he or she wants to do, really feels that the world has nothing to offer. When you look in their eyes, it's simply dark, bleak, and their sense of belief that they can achieve is non-existent. And looking at how we engage individuals, families, communities, systems, and create an opportunity for people to move forward in their lives so that the least of us become the rest of us. I can't tell you what it's meant to me to be in the social work program here at UMBC. Dr. Tice, Dr. Bembry, I know they got tired of me. I got everything out of this university I could get to be able to perfect my craft and do what I could do for my community. And one of my models for what I do at the Center for Urban Families is not to leave and not to quit. And I think about Dr. Hrabowski in that respect, and that I know he must be tugged 10 times over to leave this prestigious university that he helped to build to do other things because he has that capacity to do so. But he has stayed here. And his examples like that have grounded me in the work that I do in Baltimore. And I hope that all of us who have been nominated and selected for these awards tonight really think about what impact can we have on society as a result of the experience we've had here at UMBC. I will close by telling you a quick story about this young man, Walter. Walter's 41 years old. Earlier this year, Walter was released from prison after serving 28 years. Now, can you imagine 28 years ago what our society looked like in terms of technology, all right, and how things have advanced and evolved? And he got released from prison, no ID, no prospects for employment, no place to live. His sister took him in. A friend who was an associate of mine lived next door to his sister, found out about his story, and brought him to the Center for Urban Families, right? In a few months, he went through our workforce development program. Today, Walter is working. He just completed a pre-apprenticeship program. That is the value of hope, right? And that is what I got out of UMBC, the ability to think about how do we create institutions, how do we move systems forward, how do we be agitators in a way to help us to change things that make the least of us rise up to be the rest of us. Thank you.
Our next award recognizes Dr. Tiffany Holmes. As this year's outstanding alumna in visual and performing arts, Dr. Holmes received her MFA in Imaging and Digital Arts in 1999 and was nominated by Dr. Lisa Morin. Ms. Morin will introduce Dr. Holmes.
Hi. Hello. 20 years ago, the MFA in IMDA, Imaging and Digital Arts, was among the first of its kind in the United States, and Tiffany Holmes was among the first cohorts to graduate from it. Like the IMDA mission, her work is a commitment to art that poses unique conceptual and social challenges, especially at the service of emerging technologies in both intellectual and formal terms. I actually met Tiff when I was a candidate for an assistant professor position in the visual arts here at UMBC. So Tiff was the grad rep that was actually interviewing me. So since that first meeting, our relationship really has been a dialogue, and a dialogue on what it means to materialize art from new digital forms. Over the years, we evolved that dialogue at conferences in New Orleans, Nagoya, Japan, Finland, and Washington, D.C., and through observing her doctoral work on eco-visualization, combining art and technology to reduce energy consumption at the University of Plymouth in the UK. Dr. Holmes has defined the mantra of our enigmatic field by instilling it in her art, distilling it to her students, both as a full professor of art and technology studies and as dean at the most long-standing prestigious institute in the country, the Art Institute of Chicago. At the Institute, Tiffany works with leading artists and colleagues in the field while making a permanent mark in the canon of this once marginalized and little understood discipline. Dr. Holmes' worldwide exhibitions of her art include the Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago, J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles, San Jose Biennale, SIGGRAPH, World Art in Denmark, and many, many others, including fellowships, awards, and commissions, too many to mention here, but those institutions trust Tiff Holmes to be a leading steward of this evolving field of art and technology that's now ubiquitous in our culture. So I'm so pleased to have had to continue to have this ongoing dialogue with her and to present Dr. Tiffany Holmes to you as the distinguished alumna of IMDA for Performing Arts and Humanities at UMBC.
Good evening. Thank you, Lisa. It is hard to go last. There are so many smart people up here that I'm with. Thank you so much for the award. I'm truly honored, and I wish to share a little bit with you about what made my UMBC experience so memorable for me. A lot of people up here have talked about community. IMDA is a real community of working artists. I want to give special thanks to my nominator, Lisa Morin. As she mentioned, I met Lisa to give her a departmental tour as the grad student designee on the IMD search committee that ultimately hired her. Lisa and I really stayed in touch over the years. We even managed to share a hotel room for the ISAIA conference in Japan. Last February, I got to see her in action at a College Art Association panel she put together called Algorithmic Alchemy. Lisa, it's been wonderful to be inspired by your work over the last 20 years, and I'm so grateful you thought to put my name forward for the award. I moved to Baltimore in 1992 to teach art through a program called Teach for America. In just 1 year in the Baltimore City public school system, I had earned a reputation for being good with computers. This meant I was excellent with an operation known as the unplug and reboot. Due to my enthusiasm for computers, I was handed project after project that involved learning more and more about technology and education. I developed lessons using my brand new Mac Quadra in my classroom, and later I moved to the library to become a media specialist. I work with a group of 8th grade boys to put in the school's first internet lab, and as a reward, I decided to take these young men on a field trip to see UMBC's Imaging Research Center in an effort to get them interested in being the first in their families to attend a university like UMBC. As an aside, several of them actually did. But after that adventure, I quickly realized that I was interested in using technology to make art, and I applied to UMBC's IMDA program, and miraculously, I was accepted here. And so I began my journey as an artist in the world of higher education. For years, I've been making artwork that deals with the social and cultural aspects of our expanding technologies. I have my UMBC education to thank for giving me the confidence and the conviction to carry through on my desire to teach in higher ed. Professor Bill Seaman, now at Duke, was an important influence. I went on to enroll in the PhD program in England that he introduced us as graduate students to. Professor Kathy Odell helped me connect my long-term interests in art history to media and performance studies. Professor and then Chair David Yeager, now president of the University of the Arts in Philly, hired me to teach my first college-level course that ultimately sent me on the trajectory to pursue this career in higher ed. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the support of my family. My mother and brother are here with us in the way back in the audience tonight, and I'd like to close by telling them thank you for supporting all of my creative interests for the last 49 years. Thank you.
Our next award will recognize Mr. Thomas Sadowski as this year's Distinguished Service Award recipient. A 1989 graduate in political science, Mr. Sadowski was nominated by Ellen Hemmerly, who will offer his introduction.
We'll see if this works up there. Can I guess I can pull it down. Okay. I am really delighted to introduce Tom Sadowski, this year's winner for UMBC's Distinguished Service Award. I really can't think of anyone more deserving for this honor. I've known Tom for over 15 years and first met him when he was Director of Economic Development for Hartford County. I remember thinking to myself and hearing other people comment on this as well, that he was awfully young to be in this position and to do it so well. And he has done that throughout his career, one of the youngest in very responsible positions and always doing great. I'm sure that his education at UMBC helped him become the leader in economic development that he is today. Tom has always valued relationships and supported partnerships and has a knack for bringing people together and making things happen. Tom led the premier business advocacy group for Baltimore called the Economic Alliance of Greater Baltimore. He was in this capacity for 8 years and then was recently appointed Vice Chancellor for Economic Development for the University System of Maryland. Tom is always raising the bar for all of us working in economic development and tech commercialization at our campuses. I believe with Tom at the helm, UMBC and other system campuses will lead the nation in supporting innovation and creating knowledge jobs of the future. Again, I'm really pleased to introduce Tom Sadowski.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You sit here and you listen to all these very intelligent, very learned, and accomplished people speak, and there's just no way to pad whatever you're going to say in the couple of minutes that you have. So I'm just going to go for it here. Look, there are a couple of things I'm really proud of. My family, many of whom are here with us tonight, my education, which, happened here, and the work that I do. So to have this award be bestowed upon me in front of the people I love the most, at the place that, I've come to love, the most, is really, really special. And I'm humbled. So now I'm going to kind of go along with the stuff that I wrote earlier today, and hopefully it kind of raises to the level of what's been said thus far.
It is quite an honor. Ellen, you got me. Thank you so much for the nomination. She's a terrific partner. We are doing great things today, and we will continue to do wonderful things going forward. And a lot of it's because of the leadership of this fine institution, I will say. I never thought this would have been possible. You know, when I hearken back to my years at UMBC, you know, back in the day, working my way through, working internships, benefiting from the great guidance that Dr. Arthur Johnson provided me, even tonight over a couple of beers. He was still schooling me, if you will, and talking to my son, Will, who's hopefully going to be here as a student in the fall next year. You know, but this is a place that, you know, you had to be open to that because it was coming. And it was coming at you right between the eyes, whether you wanted it or not. But at the end of the day, you wanted it and you wanted more of it. I admit I had to look up, you know, distinguished to really understand what this honor meant. I thought I had an idea, but to think that it related to my work and that my work might have been considered successful or commanding of respect in some way, it just really did blow me away. Honestly, I'm just a guy that likes to make people happy, help solve problems, help people work as a team and achieve collective goals, or simply help people find that better part of themselves and grow. I've worked on a lot of projects, military bases, research labs, corporate headquarters, you know, community centers, tech centers for helping at-risk youth, you know, a lot of different stuff. I served in a lot of roles as a husband, as a dad, a son, boss, teacher, board member, cancer survivor. And I couldn't perform in any of these capacities well had it not been for my role here as a student. I mean, those days, I mean, I liked it so much I took 5 years to get my degree. Cost me a little bit extra, but it was worth it. But I always look back at those days, those years, as great days of discovery and wonder. And I liken it today as kind of being the father of 5, right? You discover how hard it is, and you wonder how the hell you're going to get through it at the end of the day. But you do. You don't quit, as many of my fellow awardees have said. You count on the right support, you have the right attitude, and you get through it. You persevere. And that, in a nutshell, is kind of my story. So with that, I want to close by offering 3 quick thoughts. First and foremost, I want to thank my family, my beautiful wife, Melissa, my 2 oldest sons, Ty and Will, who are with us here. Their younger siblings are at home. That's where the big source of wonder comes. I wonder if they're in bed. I wonder if they've burnt the house down. To my parents, to Mary Lou, Augie, Pop Tom, upstairs. You all represent the deepest love and meaning that I have in my life. And it's from that I draw much joy, and hopefully I share that with others. Second, I want to thank UMBC, of course. Freeman, you and your team. Irina, you and the Alumni Association, you honored me tremendously with this award and your distinguished work here each and every day. At UMBC, the students, the teachers, the alumni, all of them alike, we share this fire that burns very deep and is sustaining. And I promise you that I'm going to continue to carry the flame, that flame, for the rest of my days. Third and finally, I want to offer a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "For they can conquer who believe they can." I grew to believe in myself here at UMBC, and that is what I believe distinguishes this place from all the other institutions throughout the country. It leads its students to believe in themselves, and further, to believe that there is nothing that they cannot accomplish within themselves and in their communities by working together with passion and a deep, deep, heartfelt purpose. So thank you very much again for this award, for coming out tonight to support my fellow awardees, and thank you to all the great people associated with UMBC and the fine work that you do each and every day. Keep up the good work, you students, and do great things and make us all proud. Thanks very much.
Our next award recognizes this year's rising star, Miss Galina Majorov. Graduated in 2008 with a degree in psychology and in 2011 with an MA in aging studies. Dr. Judah Ronch will offer introductions.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So to be a rising star, one has to be a star first. Yeah? And one has to be on an arc that is taking you up and further. And as the first awardee from the Erickson School, I'm very, very proud that Galina has earned this honor. Galina's story with the Erickson School and at UMBC, I think, is something that should make all of you very proud of what UMBC is and how it does what it does to prepare people for academic excellence and career paths that not only change the lives of students, but change the lives of others. Galina, like one of our other honorees, came here as a child and tells me that she spent her early years watching television to learn English, pardon me, and taking computers apart. Little did we know how prophetic that activity would be. When she came to work at the Erickson School in 2005, it was slightly before when I arrived. And when I got there in 2007, there was Galina in her cubicle with her name on it and a sign that said, Queen of All Technology. That also was very, very prophetic. So Galina, as you heard, was an undergraduate psych major, but also studied writing and biology and began this interdisciplinary path to work in aging and to work in technology that she continues on today with outstanding results. She began in the Management of Aging Services master's degree upon graduating and taking a false start by trying to become an organizational psychologist, something as a psychologist I tried to convince her not to do, but she did anyway. And then she realized that she had a passion for working with older people, and as a lot of our students do, got in touch with an early experience in her life where, having grown up in an intergenerational family in Bulgaria, she realized how much she could relate to older people and how much love she had for them and how this was really what her true calling was. So she became my teaching assistant and graduated in our master's program in 2011 with honors and became a lecturer in July of that year and promptly told me that the course that we were co-teaching would now be taught by her alone, and thank you very much. This turned out to be a very, very wise decision on her part because it began the arc of the growth of the Erickson School on the undergraduate side. When she became the undergraduate program director in 2011, we had total enrollment in undergraduate courses of about almost 400. By 2014, it had reached 1,300, and to date, it is almost 1,900. And this is really due to the passion and hard work and leadership and vision that Galina has brought to the program. She is absolutely assiduous about the high quality of the content, about the academic rigor, but also is very, very available to students to help them and to get the undergraduate curriculum to reflect not only the latest in instructional technology, but also to reflect the latest knowledge in the world of aging services, which really involves information from three disciplines: the world of aging, management, and policy. And she's worked very, very hard to make sure that all those threads are reflected in every course that we teach and throughout the program. She has introduced or developed 7 undergraduate courses on her own, led significant revisions of 4 more, and because she had nothing else to do 2 years ago, revised the entire undergraduate program and made it more user-friendly to our undergraduate students and more reflective of the state of the art that we currently have. She developed 3 field laboratories to look at technology and aging that have brought students together with older adults in several community settings so that our students understand what the lives of older adults are and understand on a first-hand basis what technology really needs to do to serve their needs. These have enlivened her courses about technology and management of aging services by making them both practical and informed and really beautifully represent our UMBC value of engagement with the community and interdisciplinary innovation. She was awarded a Breaking Ground grant to extend this work in intergenerational relationships and uses of technology, and has gotten an undergraduate research award to support her research in cybersecurity and older technology uses, a field that she is one of the few people in this country working in. She continues to work full-time, to be a mom, to be a spouse, to be a daughter, to be a daughter-in-law to these wonderful relatives of hers who are here. And in her spare time, she pursues a PhD in human-centered computing on a full-time basis. Her preliminary research work toward her dissertation is well underway, and her passion is really now to help society understand and help our students understand the major issues in cybersecurity and technology use in older people, particularly for those with mild cognitive impairment and dementia. She's a steady mentor for undergraduates and graduate students. She has co-authored 2 textbook chapters on language and aging and was a co-author on a significant professional white paper on ageist language and the negative influences of ageist language in the seniors care community that received national distribution. She is a contributor to UMBC and the Erickson School through her service activities, serves on a number of committees, and as the advisor to the Erickson School Council of Majors. And I'm tired just telling you all the things that she does. You can imagine how exhausted she must be at the end of the day. She's truly an outstanding young leader in our young field. She is one of the country's leading experts in technology and management of aging services. She's a valued colleague in scholarship to me. She's a gifted administrator, a wonderful young campus leader. And I think since she's a UMBC lifer, as she says, it's only fitting that her husband, Fred, is a UMBC graduate, and her daughter, Amelia, will be a member of the class of 2037, if my math is right. Thank you very much. Galina.
Thank you, Dr. Ranch. I am so honored to receive the award. Thank you so much to the Alumni Association. You guys are doing amazing work. I am so humbled to be honored and to receive this award, especially with the company that I'm in, all of these exceptionally accomplished individuals. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm so thrilled, and I hope to continue to make UMBC proud. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to say to you, I really wanted to kind of give you a story about my experience at UMBC. And since I am a lifer, I've been here for undergrad, grad, now PhD. And I was talking to my husband, and we were thinking about, which story I could share. And we realized that maybe some of them were a little bit inappropriate. And I'm a mom now, so I have to be respectable. So the story that I'll tell you is really just kind of one of the usual stories that UMBC students go through, which is studying in the library late at night for a biology exam that was very hard. And being on the 3rd or 4th floor of the library with some of my classmates and really kind of teaching each other the concepts and trying to cram everything that we possibly can the night before, because that's what we used to do. I never do that at all, ever, And I remember sneaking food into the library because back in the day you couldn't bring food in, so we were hungry and tired and studying. But I remember having such a great time, which was kind of crazy, pulling an all-nighter and taking exams and studying really hard, but I had a blast. And so I took the exam, and I didn't really do too well. Because this is UMBC and biology classes are really hard. And I ended up with a C in the class. It was a high C. It was quite the high C. Almost a B, but not really. It was a high C, and I was okay with that. But I remember once the semester was over, I got an email from my professor who said, I looked at your attendance. We used to take clicker attendance. And you came to every class, and you did well on a lot of assignments, and you're very close to a B, so I'm going to give you a chance to get to that B. And so he gave me some extra assignments that I could complete. He asked if I wanted to, and of course I said yeah. And I ended up completing the assignments, and he gave me the B, which was so nice. And really, that's what UMBC is like. It's extremely supportive classmates who are now lifelong friends, whose kids, my kid plays with. It's the amazing supportive environment. It's the faculty that are so nurturing and so wonderful and reach out and kind of take that extra step. And that's what UMBC is to me. And so I hope that I'm the type of faculty that I had when I was a student here. Just wonderful, amazing, warm-hearted people who really wish for their students' success. And I'm so thrilled to be a part of this community. I am a lifer. I am proud to be a UMBC lifer. I am so happy that I get the chance to do research here and teach here and work here. And I know that I'm very, very lucky to be a part of this community. And so I wanted to thank my family, of course, for all of their support, and the family that is at home watching the baby. And to my husband, I can't forget him, who's also a UMBC alum and knows how amazing this place is. And we often come back and look at the old dorms, and now they're completely renovated, and we're so upset because we got to live in the dorms as they used to be. Now they're really amazing. But I really can't describe to you how lucky I am, and I really don't take my job and my experience for granted. And I am so excited to see that other students are just as excited to be part of this community. And so I just want to thank you so much for this honor. We have the coolest president, which also really helps. We have the most amazing faculty and staff who are so supportive. We have just a wonderful community that is so giving and so diverse and so nurturing. And I'm so honored to be a part of it. So thank you so much. Thanks.
Our final award of the evening will recognize Dr. Kimberly Moffitt as this year's Outstanding Faculty Award winner. Associate Professor in the Departments of American Studies and Language, Literacy, and Culture, PhD program, Dr. Moffitt will be introduced by her nominator and alumna, Ingeri Nachi.
Good evening, everyone. I don't want to keep you too long because I'm last, but Dr. Moffitt's amazing, so we have to listen to what we have to say. So Dr. Kimberly Moffitt changed my life. If not for her presence, perfect framing of narratives on how society, dominant culture, race relations, and responsibility come together to create the realities that we experience, and push to be a more critical thinker, I would not have matriculated through my dual degree program of getting a JD and a master's in public policy and leadership. Her support extended past the classroom. She made herself available to all of us outside of the classroom. It was her activism and assertiveness in the classroom that provided me with the foundation of understanding that I can create a space for myself in any setting that appropriately and positively centers my experience. Dr. Moffitt went there and had the courageous discussions that allowed us to be appropriately vulnerable to build the bridges necessary to further positive social change. She fostered a space that centered the power of building a strong sense of community through healthy exchange. During my whole law school tenure, especially being involved in civil rights activism, Black Lives Matter and many other issues of our socialization persisted. Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray. Each of those felt personal to me, and each time, Dr. Moffitt was there to guide me through my emotional turmoil. I'm still a bit uneasy about representing a legal system that has the capacity for allowing so much injustice, but her knowledge and support provide me with the peace of mind and comfort necessary to take on the task of inducing meaningful change. I consider myself blessed to have such a strong, gifted, and beautiful woman as my role model. I have the privilege of having this be my norm, which I've now learned is not the case for many others. To have her set that standard, my foundation stands firmly in commanding the most out of the spaces that I engage. Outside of being a phenomenal professor, she is an amazing mother to two beautiful, oh, you're recording me, sorry. Two beautiful, very critically engaged and thoughtful children who are the personification of their mother's amazing spirit. Everybody deserves a Dr. Moffitt, someone who shows them the goodness of the world while asking the essential follow-up questions that ensure that they never get complacent. And I don't mind sharing her because she's truly a gift. Dr. Kimberly Moffitt is a guiding light to many and incredibly deserving for the recognition of her efforts.
Good evening. I arrived at UMBC in 2006. Right before I accepted the position here, I arrived interviewing as an 8-month pregnant woman wearing 3-inch heels. I still wear the 3-inch heels, but now I give birth to my students in various ways. And I do so because very similarly to how I do my children, and what I should say is that I'm not very original as a professor in terms of how I teach, because what I teach my college students, my children also have to endure and hear. And one of the things that we do at home as a nightly affirmation is we always recite before bedtime, and we always, and they respond back, walk in like we own the place. The reason that I do that affirmation is because I want to give my children voice. And I want to make sure they understand that they have voice. No matter what space they decide to walk into and be a part of, that they belong to that space. That's the exact same thing that I try to do with my college students, is that I want them to leave the classroom knowing that their voice matters. Whatever segment of society they want to be a part of, they matter, they are important, and their voice should be heard. So it's not very original, but it's very consistent because it allows me to move and navigate between those two spaces very easily. I want to make sure that it's clear that teaching for me also comes very natural because it's just what I want to do. I want to give, I want to impart knowledge, I want someone to gain knowledge from my experience and be able to leave my classroom feeling like they have something to contribute to greater society. I do that in various ways. How many of you are huge fans of Disney? Okay, so you need to take my class so that I can alter that for you. Because one of the things that, again, I also enjoy doing as a teacher is allowing students to develop their critical voice and critical thinking ability so that they have a sense of not simply becoming pawns of society where they decide to take everything that they hear and see and become a part of, but in fact are able to speak back to it. So as much as we do love something like Disney, and I have 2 children that also participate in loving Disney, I want to make sure that my students are able to critically engage that which they are in, that they are participating in. So yes, love the princesses, love any of the new futuristic 3D animation that Disney provides, but also be able to speak back to it and be critical of it instead of simply accepting it as the world that we have come to understand. I want to just finish by simply saying that I am so honored to be in a space with many faces that I am familiar with, many people who have been a part of my journey since I've been here at UMBC. I see, of course, my family, my husband, my 2 children. I see former students. I see fabulous colleagues of mine. We have a secret relationship that I'm going to call him out on this evening, that Dr. Sean Bediako from the psychology department has been the most fabulous colleague that any professor can have on a university campus. And it is because of those types of relationships I am able to forge ahead and plow through what I do in the classroom, what I try to do on this campus, and what I try to do in the city of Baltimore. I think about Art Johnson being the provost who hired me. I think about Scott Casper, the dean who tenured me, and the many others who are in this room who have been a part of my journey here at UMBC. And I just want to say thank you and also acknowledge my fabulous, fabulous student in Gary Nachi for all that she does and continues to do. Thank you.
Wow. It's really been inspirational every year. It's inspirational to meet these driven retrievers. Let's give them one more round of applause. And for our students down there, I can pass along a little wisdom from having been in the workforce for a while. I suggest you use every opportunity to network with our alumni. We're there, we're talented, we're listening, we're willing to help. And by way of example, Dr. Baker, I took an undergraduate genetics class for non-majors. So if you have any issues you want to bounce off me, I'd be happy to listen. With that, thank you again for joining us tonight and for your support for the UMBC Alumni Association. Before I ask Dr. Hrabowski to offer his final reflections, I want to once more thank all of the donors and sponsors tonight. Your generous contributions to the Alumni Association Scholarship Fund will help carry the next generation of retrievers to their own legacy of greatness. If anyone would like to join our donors in making a gift this evening to honor one of our outstanding honorees, please stop by the registration table on your way out. Additionally, I would like to thank and recognize all of our Alumni Board of Directors who are in attendance this evening. I ask that you please stand while we offer a round of applause as a thank you. I hope you'll all join us for a dessert reception after Dr. Hrabowski's closing remarks. For the final time this evening, I turn the podium over to Dr. Hrabowski.
Thank you very much. Give them all a round of applause again, the Alumni Association and others. I know that we've all been inspired, and students, I always go to the students. You've had a chance to listen to people, and I know one of the questions you're asking yourselves is this: I wonder where I'll be, really, in a few years. God, I can't do all that. I can't be the PhD and whatever. Believe me, one day you'll be up here. You will. Because every one of them would tell you that when they were your age, they had questions too. And they could not have imagined that they have become so extraordinary at this point. I've heard each of them talk about the importance of people having a sense of self, of believing in yourselves. You heard that from each person. You heard each person talking about giving to others. You saw people knocking down boundaries across disciplines, across geography, across race and ethnicity. You heard people talking about being critical thinkers, enjoying things, but questioning. One of our heroes on this campus is Walter Sondheim, whose statue is on the only statue on our campus. Walter, who was a mentor of mine, once said, "Freeman, live life seriously, but don't take it seriously. Live life seriously. Do everything you can to be your best. And after that, don't obsess. Because don't take yourself so seriously." And in each case, you saw people who have reached very, very, very high standards. And yet it wasn't about them. It was about their students, about their research, about helping other people, whether they're from Bulgaria or from China, from Turkey, from UK, across the world, from Baltimore City and the challenges, all the way to thinking about what happens in humankind. And so I leave you with the quote from another very, very famous UMBC alumnus, Aristotle, who said, "Excellence is never an accident. It is the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wisest choice among many options." And then he said something that always gives me goosebumps, like math, right? And literature. He said, "Choice, not chance, determines destiny." Choice, not chance, determines destiny. Be inspired by our alumni and choose well. Have a good evening. We cooked all night. Come get the dessert. Thank you all very much.